Welcome to the Millennial Rant, a podcast about whatever's bothering me today. With topics ranging from politics to pop culture, there's a rant to cover everyone. For more Millennial Rant content, you can join me on the web at millennialrant.com. I've never made it a secret that I am a huge advocate for trades, but I've also never really discussed the reason why. I've touched on it, talked about how trades are skills that people can never take away from you, regardless of what happens to your life and your circumstances, right? Everybody's always going to need plumbers, everyone's always going to need electricians, everyone's always going to need carpenters, and all that sort of stuff. So trades are a staple, right? A societal staple, something that will never really go away. But what really drilled this into my mind was when I was, I'm going to say 27-ish. It's around 2013, 2014. We had a Moms for America retreat event in Nebraska, and we invited John Ratzenberger to come be our keynote speaker. A lot of people might know him from Cheers, but I think my generation knows him best from Pixar. He's in like every Pixar movie. He's that voice, that voice that everybody watches Pixar movies and goes, oh, hey, it's that voice. He's that voice. That's John Ratzenberger. So he's an actor, voice actor, probably best known for his voice acting again in my generation. But he also has a trade skill. And I wish I could remember which one he said it was. I think it's carpentry. I think he's a carpenter. And I'm pretty sure when he was talking about this, and please forgive me, it's been like 10 years. When he was talking about this, he talked about how he wanted to go to college and he wanted to become an actor. And his dad was like, that's totally great. But before you do that, you're going to learn a skill. And so he learned carpentry and he put himself through school with his carpentry. And it's something that he was able to keep doing as a hobby, even while he was working as an actor. So when maybe jobs didn't come through as lucratively or as often as he would like, he was able to fall back on that skill that he had, and he never had to worry about how he was going to provide for himself and for his family. And so when his son was going to go to college, he said, that's great, but get a skill first. And so I've seen this in my own family where my older brother DJ is a network engineer, I think is what they're called. He links computers and does all sorts of computer garbly googly things. But before that, he was an electrician. And so he was going to school to become a network engineer, but he needed something that he could do in the interim. And so he went and he became an apprentice and then I think a journeyman. I don't think he's a master because he's moved across states and there were some interruptions with his electrical career because he didn't want to make it that specifically his career. But he still does it. And not only does he still do it, but he still does it on the side as a job that he, is able to supplement his income with. And of course, he goes around to the different things that we need as a family and does things like that for us. Like, I had a ceiling fan in here that was wobbly and like didn't turn very fast at all. And so he was going to fix it. He pulled it down and he said, oh, this box is wrong or mount is wrong or something was wrong. It wasn't quite right. So he put it back up and he said he would come in and change it out, and then he didn't. But I mean, he was in the middle of getting engaged and planning a wedding and getting married. So I guess I can forgive him. But so I actually called an electrician here where I live, and he came in and he pulled down the fan and he's like, oh, wow, yeah, no, this box is totally wrong. And if you had kept the fan, like if the fan went even a modicum faster than the tiny little whoosh it did, it would have fallen on my head. So my brother is also secretly apparently an assassin and was trying to get my inheritance. So yeah, thanks big brother. Love you too. But anyway, but that's something that he'll be able to carry with him for the rest of his life. My brother Noah was learning how to be a plumber, and that's something he can carry with him for the rest of his life. These are trades and skills that people need in order to not only maintain a society but to build and or rebuild a society. Does that mean, that the world is going to come to an end and we're going to need plumbers and electricians to rebuild civilization as we know it? Probably, but not quite to the extreme I think that science fiction has made it out to be. I think if society collapses, it will collapse into clans unless something truly massively monumental happens. But that's a video for another time. So, and another reason though why trades are so important is not just because this is a skill you can carry with you for your whole life. It's because other jobs are not necessarily that way. Specifically white collar jobs, these white collar jobs. People have been raised in this society to venerate almost white collar work and to look down their noses at blue collar work and say, well, that's for quote working people. But it's the blue collar workers who are making the most money, who have the most stable income, who are able to, enjoy their free time because they're making the money that they need to be able to support their families in the meantime. And so it's really kind of absurd to look at these jobs like welding and electricians and plumbing and to look down your nose at them, to think that those are lesser than becoming a lawyer or a doctor or a stock tradesman on Wall Street. We'll always need doctors. That's true. That's something that that is also a skill I think that nobody can ever take away from you. Will we always need lawyers? Probably not. I mean, if things really do, fall apart to such an extreme that society as it now stands just completely collapses and we have to start all over again, I don't think cavemen had lawyers. That probably wasn't something that they had. I can tell you that if the stock market crashes again, we will have very little use for people who sell and trade stocks. That won't be a job that's around. There are things that have staying power and there are things that just don't. If you want to make sure that you're always taken care of, that you're always going to be able to put food on your table, the best thing that you can do is get a trade, get a skill. Because even if we don't collapse as a society, even if we do continue as we are, the road that we're going down is all about, paring down, right? It's all about making it the most efficient as possible. And that's resulted in a lot of white collar jobs being outsourced to countries where the hourly rate is much lower. I mean, for all we know, in 20 years, you're going to have a law firm in America where there's one lawyer and all of the general work is outsourced to paralegals in India. And so they only have to pay for the one lawyer, and then he gets to pay slave labor for the people that he is using in other countries, and they don't need anybody else. What are you going to do then? But trade jobs, carpentry, plumbing, electricians, they can't be exported. You can't send that overseas. You have to be there. You have to have your hands in it. You have to be doing it. And if you're not, then it can't be done. It literally cannot be done as things stand right now. Maybe they're going to develop some sort of, robot arm technology like they have with surgeries now, where the doctors basically playing operation with a crane, and he just kind of does the surgery, and then the machine does all of the actual precision stuff. And he could probably do that from, his bed on the weekend. But maybe it'll get to that point where we just have robots come rolling into our houses, and the plumbers on the other side, like, doing the input and the robots doing the output. I think that's what a lot of people are worried about for AI. And when they talk about AI is stealing jobs, I talked about this last week. But as of right now, that's not the case. It just isn't. And so if you want to make sure that your job is not going to go away, or if you want to make sure that you have a fail safe, that you have something that you can fall back on, something that you can support yourself with, then get a trade. I don't have one. And that is very concerning to me, genuinely and for true. If something were to happen and my education became largely useless, what would I have to fall back on? Really not much, honestly. I'm not a particularly versatile person when it comes to the skills that I have. I can do a little quilting. I can do, some crochet. I can do a little bit of embroidery and cross stitch and things like that, but not enough that people would like pay me for it, or if they did, it certainly wouldn't be sustainable. And so, what am I going to do if something were to happen? That's just kind of food for thought, something to swish around in your brain and let it ferment. The white collar jobs that we hold up and laud, the college degrees, the accolades that come with, gambling on the stock market, it comes and it goes. And when it goes hard. What are you going to do when you fall on hard times and you have nothing to fall back on? So get a skill. And then you don't have to worry. Because then even if we export all of our white collar labor to some place overseas, you'll still be able to do whatever it is that you need to do right here in the States with your hands. Something that nobody can take away from you, that you can keep doing because you enjoy it, and that will give you the peace of mind that you need to be able to do the crazy things, the gambly things, the, high rolling white collar things that you want to do in the meantime.